Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. You're watching Anime Octopus, the home of epic anime fanfiction, alternate timelines, and dark what-if stories. Today, we continue one of the most intense journeys yet. What if the DWMA betrayed Naruko Uzumaki? Part 2. In the previous part, betrayal shattered trust, alliances began to crumble, and Naruko's fate took a darker turn than anyone expected. But this is only the beginning. In this chapter, the consequences grow deeper, new enemies emerge, and Naruko's path may change the entire world forever. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer. The content on this channel is created for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any anime footage, music, or copyrighted material used in this video. All rights belong to their respective creators and copyright holders. Now sit back, relax, and let's begin the story. Chrono watched the two witches carefully. She could tell right away that they had not come for a friendly conversation. Even so, since her mother had not attacked them, Chrono decided they were probably not in immediate danger. Before anyone could speak again, Ragnarok suddenly burst from Chrono's back in his large, shadowy form. He grabbed the top of her head playfully, making Chrono let out a tired sigh. Ragnarok loved causing trouble and acting bossy whenever he had the chance. Chrono glanced upward at him. "What is it, Ragnarok?" she asked quietly. Ragnarok gave her a rough little noogie. "Give me money. I want a taco," he demanded dramatically. Chrono sighed once more. "No, Ragnarok. I don't feel like it," she replied. "Aw, come on, you jerk," Ragnarok complained, folding his arms with a grumble. Nearby, Iruka ignored the argument completely. Neither she nor Mizune looked happy to see Medusa. Both witches stared at her with clear suspicion. Medusa was known for being clever and secretive, and very few witches trusted her. Iruka narrowed her eyes. "I think you know why I'm stopping you," she said firmly. Medusa simply smiled calmly, as though nothing bothered her. "Oh yes," she answered. "But I'm not the only one who brought non-witches to the gathering tonight." She gestured toward the distance. "That young witch over there is traveling with a human. So you see, I'm hardly the only one." Iruka crossed her arms. "That isn't what I came to discuss. I have questions for you, Medusa. First, why were you taking things from the Grand Witch's room? And second, why did you secretly place yourself inside the DWMA staff? What are you planning?" Instead of answering right away, Medusa turned toward her daughter. "Chrono, do you still have my coat?" Chrono nodded and handed it over. "Yes, mother. Here it is." Medusa slipped on her snake-patterned coat smoothly. "My research has already been approved," she explained. "The Grand Witch herself supports my work." As she and Chrono started to leave, Iruka stepped in front of them with her wooden staff. "Wait a minute!" Iruka cried. "The Grand Witch's eyesight is failing. She doesn't realize how much trouble you've caused lately. The Academy exists to stop dangerous witches. If you make even one mistake, you could bring problems to all of us." Then she glanced toward Ragnarok, who was still pestering Chrono nearby. "And him," Iruka continued. "Why would you try creating a Kishin that could become dangerous to everyone? You've gone too far, Medusa. You need to stop." For a moment, the hallway became very quiet. Then Medusa suddenly stepped closer. Her smile became cold and unsettling, though her voice remained soft. "You two really do enjoy interfering," she said. Iruka and Mizune froze nervously as Medusa leaned near them. But after only a tense moment, Medusa stepped back again with a small laugh. "Not today, though," she said lightly. "I'm far too busy. A school nurse shouldn't keep her students waiting, and there are other people expecting me as well." With that, Medusa and Chrono walked away down the hall, leaving Iruka and Mizune shaken and speechless. Iruka let out a long breath once they were gone. "I seriously cannot stand that woman," she muttered. Later, inside the DWMA hospital, Medusa had already returned to her disguise as the academy nurse. Sol sat on the examination bed while Medusa checked the scar across his chest. "Turn around for me," she said kindly. "And tell me how you've been feeling." Sol shrugged as he faced her. "Mostly normal, I guess. But lately I keep having this strange dream." "A strange dream?" Medusa repeated with careful interest. Sol stared off into the distance as he explained. "Yeah. It feels so real every time. I always start in this completely dark room. There's an old record player there, but the music keeps skipping like the record is scratched. Some kind of jazz song plays, though I can never fully remember it." He rubbed the back of his head uneasily. "Then this little demon guy shows up from the darkness. He wears a fancy suit and shiny tap shoes. He keeps dancing completely out of rhythm with the music." Medusa listened quietly. "And what happens next?" she asked gently. Sol hesitated before continuing. "He asks me why I'm afraid to leave the room," Sol explained. "So eventually I walk forward through the darkness. Then I see this bright light ahead of me." Sol's expression became nervous. "When I step through the light, I suddenly come out of Naruko's stomach." He took a shaky breath, clearly unsettled by the dream. Medusa remained calm on the outside, though her eyes sharpened with curiosity as she listened carefully to every word. Medusa watched quietly, her thoughtful eyes narrowing just a little. "Interesting," she thought. "The strange black blood inside her body is affecting her somehow. The Uzumaki clan should probably be informed." Sol turned around and stretched her arms carefully. "So, aside from that, how am I doing?" she asked. "Well," Medusa replied kindly, "you still seem a little tired, but you're recovering nicely so far. Let me check your blood pressure one more time. As for the unusual dream you mentioned, it's normal to have strange nightmares after such a stressful experience. I don't think you need to worry too much. Still, is there anything else on your mind?" Sol looked down at the floor for a moment. "I'm not exactly worried," she admitted softly. "But ever since we came back from Italy, Maka has been acting a little strange. It feels like something has been bothering her." "I'm sorry to hear that," Medusa said gently. After the checkup, Sol gathered her things and prepared to head back to class. "You should be fully rested in about a week," Medusa added with a smile. Just then, Maka stepped into the room and noticed Sol adjusting her shirt. Medusa politely asked her to wait outside for a moment. "It really does seem like something is troubling her," Medusa said carefully. "Is it because of the scar?" Sol glanced quietly toward the door. "Yeah," she answered. "Every time she sees it, she gets this sad look on her face." Later that afternoon, Medusa walked calmly through the winding streets of Death City. Infiltrating the academy was worth the risk, she thought. I still need to learn more about Sol's condition. But before I visit my family, I should make one quick stop. As she turned a corner, she spotted Iruka and Maizune waiting nearby. "Well," Medusa said pleasantly, "what a surprise to run into you two here." Iruka crossed her arms. "You probably already know why we're here," she replied. "Oh?" Medusa asked with an innocent smile. "Why don't you tell me anyway?" Iruka puffed out her cheeks dramatically. "We came to stop you from causing trouble," she declared. Medusa placed a hand against her cheek in mock surprise. "My, that sounds serious. I thought we were friends." "We don't want unnecessary attention from the Grim Reaper," Iruka explained. "And we don't trust your experiments at the academy either. You've become a problem." Medusa sighed softly. "If you're going to confront me," she said, "at least choose a less obvious outfit. You stand out quite a bit." "Don't worry about us," Iruka replied confidently. "We can escape easily if we need to." Medusa closed her eyes calmly. "I see," she murmured. "So that's your plan." Iruka explained her idea proudly, certain they had cornered the mysterious nurse. But Medusa remained perfectly calm the entire time. "If you're going to lecture me," Medusa said at last, Please skip the dramatic jokes. Iruka frowned, surprised by how relaxed Medusa seemed. Then Medusa slowly removed her lab coat. You really shouldn't underestimate people, she said quietly. Iruka tried to stand bravely, but her nervous expression betrayed her fear. Why isn't she panicking? Iruka wondered. Suddenly, Iruka noticed something strange. Wait. Where did the markings on your shoulders go? She asked in surprise. Medusa glanced down casually. Oh my, she said. I suppose they disappeared. At that moment, Maizune suddenly stumbled backward, looking dizzy and uncomfortable. Maizune, are you all right? Iruka asked worriedly. Tiny magical snakes gently slipped out from Maizune's sleeves and floated harmlessly through the air like ribbons. Iruka gasped. You hid those inside her magic earlier? Medusa gave a small smile. I always prepare ahead of time, she explained. But don't worry. They won't hurt anyone today. The glowing snakes circled through the air before vanishing into sparkling mist. Maizune steadied herself, relieved once the strange magic faded away. Iruka stared silently, finally realizing how powerful and clever Medusa truly was. Medusa adjusted her coat neatly and turned to leave. Next time, she said calmly, perhaps we can settle things with a conversation instead. Without another word, she walked away down the quiet streets of Death City, while Iruka and Maizune stood together in stunned silence beneath the evening sky. Iruka looked terrified, her hands trembling as she stared at Medusa. But how could you? Iruka asked shakily. The snakes are magical too, aren't they? Don't you have to release your soul protect first? How are you doing this? Medusa calmly raised one hand, and a giant snake appeared beside her. The creature's golden eyes glimmered softly as it curled around her. They have magic of their own, Medusa explained smoothly. I do not need to release my soul protect. This one is my pride and joy. She gently patted the large snake's head. She is such an obedient and effective companion. The giant snake slowly dissolved into glowing markings that wrapped around Medusa's arm like a tattoo. An impressive trick, wouldn't you say? Medusa asked with a quiet smile. Then her sharp eyes focused on Iruka. You must realize by now that Maizune is not the only one of my little darlings who has slipped inside. Iruka's fear only grew stronger. Tiny beads of sweat formed on her forehead as she stepped back nervously. A ribbit? Iruka squeaked. Just then, footsteps echoed nearby. Using the distraction, Iruka quickly transformed and hurried away as fast as she could. Medusa calmly picked up her coat. That did not take long, she thought. Stein and Maka have arrived. A moment later, both Meisters entered the area. Maka breathed heavily from running. She looked up at the blonde doctor with concern. Are you all right, Dr. Medusa? She asked. We detected 2 witches in this area, Stein explained. We came as quickly as we could. Medusa turned toward them and nodded. Yes, I sensed them as well. I came to investigate on my own. Maka frowned thoughtfully. I wonder if one of them could have been the witch who was there when Sol was injured, she said quietly. That is a possibility, Medusa replied. Stein crossed his arms thoughtfully. No, I do not think it was the same witch, he said. Medusa narrowed her eyes slightly as she listened. For one thing, Stein continued, that witch had a demon sword and a Meister with her. Even if she had been here, I doubt we would have sensed her at all. She seems far too clever to reveal herself without a reason. He adjusted his glasses. One thing we do know is that this witch has an interest in weapons and Meisters. I would not be surprised if she had been observing students here quietly. It is even possible she managed to sneak into the academy itself. That would be difficult, even for a powerful witch. Stein then looked at Medusa with appreciation. Still, I am relieved you were not harmed, Dr. Medusa. We would be in serious trouble if anything happened to our school nurse. Medusa gave a small smile. Thank you. I am perfectly fine. Maka lowered her eyes thoughtfully. But still. If I ever see that sword and Meister again. Her thoughts drifted back to the frightening moment when Krona had attacked Sol. The memory still weighed heavily on her heart. I promised myself I would become stronger, Maka thought sadly. But I still do not know if I am brave enough. At that moment, quick footsteps rushed toward them. Maka! Sol called out. Maka turned toward her partner as Naruko hurried over beside Sol, her bright blonde ponytail bouncing as she ran. She looked worried but relieved to see everyone safe. Are you all right, Maka? Naruko asked gently. You should not run off by yourself. It is too dangerous. I am fine, Maka answered softly. As Maka looked at Sol and Naruko standing beside her, she remembered how much her friends cared about her. Their support made her feel a little stronger inside. Sol noticed the worried expression on her face. You have to tell us what is bothering you, he said kindly. Naruko nodded in agreement. We are your team, Maka. You do not have to carry everything alone. Maka smiled faintly at their words. Then she turned toward Stein. Okay, Professor Stein. Stein tilted his head slightly. Yes. Maka stepped forward with determination shining in her eyes. I finally understand what I have been lacking, she said confidently. You told me to figure it out, and now I have. Stein smiled proudly. Very good, he said. He could tell Maka had finally begun to face her fears with courage. In that case, Stein continued, I would like you, Sol, and Naruko to meet me in my office first thing tomorrow morning for a special lesson. Naruko grinned brightly. A special lesson? That sounds exciting. For the first time that evening, Maka felt a warm sense of hope begin to replace her fear. As the grinning sun slipped below the horizon, the smiling moon rose high into the night sky. Normally, this peaceful change from day to night would go unnoticed, but tonight something unusual stirred beneath the silver moonlight. A tiny frog hopped carefully through the grass, pausing every few leaps to catch her breath. Yet this was no ordinary frog. It was Iruka, still trapped in her frog form. At last, Iruka wiped the sweat from her forehead with a tiny webbed hand. I've come far enough, she whispered tiredly. I should be able to rest for a little while now. Next time, though, I really am going to get away from Medusa. Ribbit. She sighed deeply, hoping she had finally escaped. Unfortunately for her, a shadow suddenly stretched across the ground. Squish! Ah, yes, came a smooth voice above her. That feels wonderfully cool on my foot. I could get used to this. Iruka's eyes widened in horror. This is her. I thought I was safe, she thought nervously. Standing above her was Medusa, smiling in a way that made the night feel colder. There's just one tiny favor I need to ask of you, Iruka, Medusa said calmly. A small silver key dropped onto the ground beside the frog. Iruka blinked in confusion. A key? Ribbit. How did you even find me? The snakes inside you told me, Medusa answered. No matter how far you run, I'll always know where you are. Iruka shivered. Now then, Medusa continued, I need you to release 4 prisoners. Their cells are numbered 13, 19, 15, and 9. Iruka's eyes opened wide with shock. The magic eye user. And the others too? She thought anxiously. Those prisoners are far too dangerous to involve in anything. She trembled beneath Medusa's gaze. If anyone in the witch world learns I helped them escape, I'll be banished forever. Medusa's smile faded into something colder. I could simply deal with you myself instead, she said quietly. Iruka gulped. Ribbit. Fine. I'll do it. Medusa's grin returned. I'm planning a very interesting experiment, she explained. One involving the magic eye, the legendary blade Kubikirabocho, the sand of the desert, and the power of freezing zero. I have questions about Soul Eater magic that need answers. Iruka quickly transformed back into her human form, staring up at Medusa in disbelief. You're going to use them for experiments? That's completely unreasonable. Medusa tilted her head slightly. You didn't feel nearly as comfortable under my foot like this, she said. Turn back into a frog. Iruka sighed in defeat. Okay. Ribbit. Far away, deep within a dark prison, chains rattled softly against stone walls. A man sat quietly in his cell, repeating numbers to himself over and over as though counting the endless hours. 1 + 2. 1 + 2. Suddenly, 3 loud roars echoed through the prison halls, startling the guards nearby. The prisoner slowly lifted his head. I can't see a thing in this darkness, he muttered. It's been ages since I've seen anything interesting. Even a silly comedy show would be nice right about now. Farther down the hall, another prisoner with bright green eyes stared silently into the shadows. Meanwhile, back with Medusa, Iruka had already hurried away to carry out her task. Krona stood nearby, watching quietly. After a moment, she let out a soft sigh. Mom, she said gently, did you really have to step on Iruka so much? Krona did not particularly like the frog witch, but even she thought her mother had gone a little too far. Medusa turned toward her daughter and laughed softly. Aw, Krona-chan, she replied playfully, Iruka felt very nice under my foot. Then her smile darkened. She should consider herself fortunate, Medusa added coldly. I could have easily gotten rid of her whenever I wanted. Krona blinked thoughtfully. So you're only keeping her around because she's useful to you? She asked. Medusa's smile slowly returned as the moonlight shimmered around them. Of course, she answered simply. Every piece on the board has a purpose. Krona lowered her eyes quietly, the cool night wind rustling around them as the mysterious plans beneath the moon continued to unfold. Medusa gave a slow nod. Why yes, my dear child. She still has some use after all. It is hardly entertaining controlling weak-minded creatures like Iruka and Mizune. But once that foolish woman has outlived her usefulness, I will send her far away from my plans forever. Even as she spoke in her cold and calculating tone, there were still a few people Medusa truly cared about. The list was very short. First was Naruko Uzumaki, her beloved fiancé, who now rested quietly under careful care after a terrible illness had left her unable to travel the world as she once did. Second was Krona, their precious daughter. If Medusa had never met Naruko, she might have treated Krona as nothing more than another experiment. Yet Naruko's kindness had changed something deep inside her heart. It also helped that the powerful Uzumaki clan watched over Krona closely. Their leader, Ashina Uzumaki, had made it very clear that if Medusa ever caused Krona harm, the clan would step in immediately. Krona sighed softly. She had grown used to her mother's sharp personality, though it still amazed her that someone like Medusa could love anyone so deeply. Medusa adored her experiments and mysterious studies, but there were two things she treasured far more than all of them together, Naruko and Krona. A small laugh escaped Krona's lips. Mom, you really are a cruel person sometimes, you know that? Medusa placed a hand dramatically over her chest. Oh dear, how unkind. Your mother loved my sharp wit. She always said it brought out my most interesting side. Though she chuckled, her smile faded as her eyes drifted toward the silver engagement ring on her finger. For a moment, the proud witch looked surprisingly gentle. I miss her, Medusa admitted quietly. Krona noticed the sadness in her mother's eyes but chose not to mention it. Instead, she leaned forward curiously. Mom, Iruka said that Zabuzama Mochi, Gaara, and Hakuyuki were followers of Mama Naruko. Who are they exactly? Since Krona had never truly known Naruko personally, she treasured every story she could gather about her mother. Medusa's smile returned, softer this time. So you wish to learn about them? Krona nodded eagerly. Very well. Let us begin with Zabuzama Mochi. He is a wandering swordsman known throughout many lands. Long ago, he trained in the Hidden Mist village, where students faced extremely difficult trials to prove themselves. Zabuza became famous for his incredible skill and determination. Over the years, he collected several legendary swords, each with unique abilities. Krona's eyes widened with fascination. Legendary swords? Indeed, Medusa replied. One sword could repair itself using iron from the air. Another was a living blade covered in scales that could sense powerful energy. One sword used threads as thin as spider silk, while another could break even the strongest shields. And the twin blades called Kiba could channel lightning during storms. That sounds amazing, Krona whispered. Medusa gave a proud smirk. Zabuza became feared not because he enjoyed frightening others, but because his strength was unmatched. Yet despite his fearsome reputation, Naruko believed there was kindness hidden beneath his rough exterior. As they spoke, Medusa reached for her broomstick. Now, hand me my broom, Krona. We still have a long journey to Uzumaki. Krona quickly picked up the broom leaning beside a rock and handed it over. Moments later, the two soared into the sky together, drifting above forests painted gold by the evening sun. The wind rushed gently past them as Medusa continued her story. Next comes Haku Yuki. Haku was one of the most talented people Naruko ever met. She came from a clan gifted with the ability to control ice itself. Haku could create sparkling mirrors of ice and move between them so quickly she seemed to vanish like snowflakes in the wind. Krona stared in amazement. She sounds beautiful. She was, Medusa agreed. But more importantly, she was kind-hearted. Haku believed true strength existed to protect others, not to hurt them. Naruko admired that deeply. And what about Gaara? Krona asked excitedly. Medusa's eyes softened once more. Ah, Gaara. His story is a sad one, but also hopeful. When he was young, many people feared him because of the strange powers he carried. He often felt lonely and misunderstood. But Naruko never treated him like a monster. She spoke to him with kindness and showed him that friendship could heal even the loneliest heart. Krona smiled warmly. That really does sound like Mama Naruko. Yes, Medusa whispered, gazing at the clouds ahead. Your mother had a special gift. She could reach people others had given up on. For a while, the two continued flying peacefully across the evening sky while Medusa shared story after story about the brave, cheerful, and compassionate Naruko Uzumaki, the woman who had changed countless lives simply by believing in others. And then there's Gaara. Just like the other two, she comes from a clan of highly skilled ninja. Her own family is quite remarkable. She inherited a special ability passed down from her father called gold dust, or saken. Gaara is even able to control iron itself. From what Naruko Koi told me, she met them at a very young age and quickly became friends with them, said Medusa. Krona looked shocked. She could hardly believe her father had known people who were so strong and impressive, though perhaps she should not have been surprised. After all, her father had once fought alongside powerful warriors and protected many people. Wow, Papa sure knew some amazing people, said Krona, her face filled with wonder. Medusa smiled softly at her daughter. Her thoughts drifted back to the first time she had spoken about her plan involving black blood and the demon sword Ragnarok. Before doing anything, she had decided to speak with Ashina Uzumaki, the respected clan leader. Flashback, years ago. After many years of careful study, Medusa believed she had finally discovered a way to help her daughter grow stronger. However, she wanted guidance from Ashina Uzumaki before taking such an important step. Naruko had introduced Medusa to Ashina several times in the past. Even then, Medusa had always found the elder Uzumaki intimidating. His presence was calm and powerful, like standing before a great mountain. Today was no different. Medusa stood inside the grand throne room of the Uzumaki clan. At the far end sat Ashina, an elderly man with long white hair, a thick mustache, and a neatly trimmed square beard. He wore traditional armor over a black outfit marked with the crest of Uzumaki. Upon his forehead rested a protector engraved with the symbol of his village. Beside him stood his loyal guards and trusted companions, Kokai and Neshuko, twin siblings known throughout the clan. Neshuko appeared to be in her 30s. She had long light red hair that reached her knees and calm yellow eyes without visible pupils. A small beauty mark rested beneath her left eye. She wore a flowing white kimono and elegant earrings shaped like tiny katana. Kokai, also in his 30s, had long burnt red hair tied into a high ponytail and matching golden eyes. He wore a dark kimono along with unusual armor decorated with bone-like designs and soft fur across one shoulder. Both twins carried curved swords wrapped carefully in bandages. The moment Medusa entered, she bowed respectfully. "Good evening, Ashina-sama." "Kokai-san." "Neshuko-san," Medusa said politely. The Uzumaki members returned her greeting with respectful nods. "Good evening, Medusa-san. What brings you here today?" Ashina asked as he gently stroked his beard. Medusa took a careful breath before answering. "I have come to speak about Krona's future. I have been studying Black Blood and Ragnarok carefully. I believe there may be a way to help Krona become stronger. However, the training would be difficult, and I wish to seek your wisdom before making any decisions." Ashina's expression grew serious. Kokai and Neshuko exchanged cautious glances. They had heard many stories about black blood and understood how dangerous it could become if handled carelessly. Ashina's voice became firm but calm. "Why do you believe this path is necessary for Krona, Medusa?" Medusa lowered her eyes respectfully. "I only wish for Krona to be able to protect herself and the people she cares about. I do not want her to feel weak or alone. I believe that if she learned to control these powers safely, she could grow into someone confident and kind." Neshuko studied Medusa quietly. "You understand that such power must be handled with great care, correct?" she asked gently. "Yes," Medusa answered honestly. "That is why I came here first. I do not wish to rush into anything without guidance." Kokai folded his arms and looked thoughtfully at Medusa. "And what makes you believe Krona can succeed where others might struggle?" he asked. Medusa looked toward the floor for a moment before smiling softly. "Because Krona has a gentle heart," she said. "And I believe kindness can guide even the strongest power." Medusa smiled at the man. She was not surprised that he did not trust her. His opinion did not truly matter to her. The only opinion she cared about was Ashina's. "It's quite simple. Krona will grow to be like her parents," Medusa said calmly. Ashina raised an eyebrow. "And what would that mean?" he asked with curiosity. A small smirk appeared on Medusa's face. "Both Naruko and I are fighters. More importantly, we know how to adapt. No matter how difficult things become, we always find a way forward. Krona will learn to do the same. She will adapt and grow stronger through every challenge." Ashina gently stroked his beard as silence filled the room. After several thoughtful moments, he finally spoke. "I have made my decision. I will allow this experiment to continue. However, if anything happens to Krona, you will answer for it. Is that understood, Medusa?" Medusa gave a respectful nod. "Perfectly understood." Flashback end. Medusa shook her head softly as the memory faded away. In the distance, a great island appeared across the shining sea. It was Uzushiogakur, the proud homeland of the Uzumaki clan. As Medusa and Krona arrived at the village gates, 2 Uzumaki guards stood watch. The guards recognized them immediately and welcomed them inside without hesitation. The journey through the village did not take long. Before long, they stood outside Ashina's grand throne room. Medusa gently knocked on the door. "Enter," Ashina's voice called from within. Medusa and Krona stepped inside and bowed respectfully. Ashina nodded warmly. "Good evening, Medusa and Krona. Shall we begin?" "Yes," Medusa replied. "I would have arrived sooner, but I encountered a troublesome distraction along the way. Still, I have important news. I believe I have found allies who may help us rescue Naruko." Ashina's eyes narrowed with both curiosity and caution. "And who are these allies?" A thoughtful grin crossed Medusa's face. "The man with the magic eye, Zabuza, Haku, and Gaara." Ashina looked genuinely surprised. After a moment, his expression softened into a calm smile. With allies like those, perhaps we truly have a chance to bring Naruko home. He folded his hands together thoughtfully. And in return, I will send 2 members of the Uzumaki clan to assist you. As he spoke, 2 women entered the room gracefully. Allow me to introduce Akawane, known as Red Wine, and Morioni, known as the Demon of the Forest. Akawane appeared to be in her late 20s. She had bright orange eyes and short dark red hair styled neatly close to her head. A golden serpent-shaped earring rested on her right ear. She wore a long crimson dress decorated with elegant golden patterns and matching armored shoulder guards bearing the Uzumaki symbol. Her brown lace-up boots reached her knees, giving her a strong yet graceful appearance. Standing beside her was Morioni, a mysterious young woman with striking eyes, one bright red and the other violet. Gentle markings decorated her cheeks, adding to her unusual appearance. She wore flowing black and white robes similar to those of a shrine guardian. Beneath her hood rested long scarlet hair that reached nearly to her knees. Medusa's eyes widened with surprise. Out of all the Uzumaki clan members Ashina could have chosen, she had not expected these 2. Akawane was known throughout the clan as a brilliant maester whose skill and wisdom were admired by many. Morioni, meanwhile, was famous for her mastery of the legendary demon sword Tengu. Though calm and polite, she carried herself with quiet confidence and extraordinary discipline. Chrono looked up at the 2 women with amazement. Ashina smiled proudly. These 2 will aid you on your journey. Together, you will search for Naruko and help bring light back to her path. For the first time in many days, hope filled the room like warm sunlight after a storm. Dear YouTube family, that's all for now. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more content. Thank you for your support and for being part of this journey. Regards, Anime Octopus.